Saturday night, I'm in my chair, tiny wing and my tweezers, glue on my hair. Instruction sheet reads like ancient runes. Step 4 was easy, I skipped 1 through 2. Decals folding like origami, fingerprint right on the cockpit canopy. Masking tape peeled half the paint, prototype weathering, that's what I'll say. I build planes, cars, tanks and tiny people. Got a runway on my bookshelf steeple. Fuselage stuck to the cat's new tail, but I swear this time this kit won't fail. I'm covered in paint, but my wallet's fine. Cheaper than dating and cheaper than wine, so I'll stay home sniffing glue all night. These little plastic disasters are my big delight. Airbrush gods, they laugh at me. Orange peel finish on a new RV. Gloss coat puddles, matte coat shines. Silvering decals like frosted lines. One wheel short, the carpet ate it. Spruce shot somewhere, I'll just create it. Landing gear strong on the port side only, so my jet displays like it's feeling lonely. I build ships, trucks, tanks and tiny heroes. Bank account hovers just above zero, but compare that tab to a fancy bar where they charge $10 for a glass in a jar. I'm covered in dust, but my mood's alright. Cheaper than dating and cheaper than nights of waiting in lines for a lukewarm drink. I'd rather lose one more photo etched part down the kitchen sink. Storage crisis, shelf two's bowed. Closet's just a secret hangar row. Bedside table, that's the car show stand. Bathroom counter is a desert sand. Guests come over, yeah, once a year. Ask how many little dudes you got in here. I smile wide, say just a few. They trip over Normandy in the hallway too. That one tank's missing half a track. This pilot's arm is on backward jack. But step away, squint your eyes. Boom, instant masterpiece surprise. I build jets, jeeps, dragons and detectives. Every free surface has got objectives. Display case packed like a subway train. One more model, I'll find a way. Might skip the steakhouse, skip the date. Skip that cocktail, skip that wait. Crunch the numbers, do the math. This hobby still beats an awkward dinner and a split check aftermath. My buddy said, go out, meet someone new. Dress real sharp, buy him dinner too. I priced one night of romance and charm. That's 3 big bombers and a farm. He came home broke with a mild regret. I dry fit a battleship, came out ahead. He bought cologne, I bought sprue cutters. We're both inhaling fumes, just different flavors. So raise your knife to the crooked seams, those sanding sticks and those half-dried beams. Raise your brush to the paint that runs. We're saving cash while we ruin our foes. I build trains, bikes, castles and critters. All my exes think I'm bitter, but I'm just broke in a smarter way. Buying tiny wheels instead of Chardonnay. I'm spotted with to the shelf in shame, say I could have blown it all on love. Instead I built a plane. I light a candle to the spruce tree, lay out tweezers like a shrine, whisper, please be kind tonight, then drop apart at the worst time. It vanishes into the carpet, dimension shift beneath my knees. Somewhere tiny thunders rumbling in a cloud of plastic shavings and disbelief. Oh, the gods of modeling live up in the rafters laughing. Every time my finger sticks, they demand another offering. Almighty ones, have mercy please. I chant in gluey misery. They sip my tears like gasoline. The cruel, cruel gods of modeling. I check the fit, it's perfect, flawless, dry run dream, a perfect seam. I blink once at a drop of glue, now it gaps like a canyon in a bad dream. Decals curl like ancient scrolls, silvering like haunted glass. They wait until it's straight and centered, then slide off sideways just to watch me crash. Oh, the gods of modeling live up in the rafters laughing. Every time my blade snaps quick, they demand another offering. Almighty ones, have mercy please. I chant in gluey misery. They stir my paints with static grin. The cruel, cruel gods of modeling. I tried to quit one Sunday, pack the stash into a box. A voice boomed to check the clearance bin. I walked out holding 3 new kits and a paradox. So now I bargain late at night, my sweet but spare this wing. They answer back with one cat hair, dead center of the canopy, shimmering. Oh, the gods of modeling perched on piles of broken sprues, cackling every time I almost win. They demand another offering. Almighty ones, I get the joke. I say through paint and sanding smoke, if pain's your favorite offering, then I must be your chosen king. So I bow to the bench, resigned, glue on my hands like a wedding ring. If suffering's their sacred hymn, I'll sing. Through the gods of modeling. Box on the table, tiny trees, tiny cars, little bag of soldiers, and a painted paper sky. Instructions like a treasure map folded on my knee. Sunday in the kitchen, just these pieces and me. Stick dreams in my hand. Clouds in cotton batting, snow made out of sand, a river from a ribbon winding through the land. Dad walks in and lingers. Here I know the master plan. I can stop the storm with a bottle cap, bring the sun with a desk lamp stand. Oh yeah! I've got glue on my fingers, time on my side. Whole little worlds in the space of a tide. If the big world's heavy, I just stay where I am, down on the carpet floor, building plastic dreams in my hand. Box on the shelf, faded paint, $5. Little warbird, rusted truck, instructions yellow, tiny parts in a bag. One wrong breath, all the sprues start to sag. Decals and dust on my workbench, water dish, shaky hands, cheap brush, see the melt in a mush of the wrinkle and rush. Every stripe, every star, every crush. Decals and dust on my workbench, little world in a storm of regret. They flake, they crack, they curl, and they set, and I keep building anyway. You bet. Oh, slide the logo from the back and so slow, watch it buckle like an old man's coat. Wingtip number turns the paper skin, folded corners won't lay flat again. Decals and dust on my workbench, water dish, shaky hands, cheap brush, see the melt in the mush of their wrinkle and rush. Every stripe, every star, every crush. Decals and dust on my workbench, little world in a storm of regret. They flake, they crack, they curl, and they set, and I keep building anyway. You bet. Snap that axle, there it goes. Tiny tailgate into, oh no, brittle plastic breaks like pride. Still I sit here, son of ink. Decals and dust on my workbench, water dish, shaky hands, cheap brush, see the melt in a mush of the wrinkle and rush. Every stripe, every star, every crest. Decals and dust on my workbench, glue on my vest, pen on my vest. These crooked little ghosts, they're the ones I love best. So I'll keep building anyway. a klutz, that's for sure. But somehow I endure. Build models, build models. I'm a klutz, that's for sure. But somehow I endure. Build models, build models. I'm a klutz, that's for sure. But somehow I endure. Building models. I'm a klutz, that's for sure. But somehow I endure. Building models. Building models. I'm a klutz, that's for sure. But somehow I endure. Building models. Building models. Building models. Building Saturday night, I'm in my chair, tiny wing and my tweezers, glue on my hair. Instruction sheet reads like ancient runes. Step 4 was easy, I skipped 1 through 2. Decals folding like origami, fingerprint right on the cockpit canopy. Masking tape peeled, half the paint, prototype weathering. That's what I'll say. I build planes, cars, tanks, and tiny people. Got a runway on my bookshelf steeple. Fuselage stuck to the cat's new tail, but I swear this time this kit won't fail. I'm covered in paint, but my wallet's fine. Cheaper than dating and cheaper than wine, so I'll stay home sniffing glue all night. These little plastic disasters are my big delight. Airbrush gods, they laugh at me. Orange peel finish on a new RV. Gloss coat puddles, matte coat shines. Silvering decals like frosted lines. One wheel short, the carpet ate it. Spruce shot somewhere, I'll just create it. Landing gear strong on the port side only, so my jet displays like it's feeling lonely. I build ships, trucks, tanks, and tiny heroes. Bank account hovers just above zero, but compare that tab to a fancy bar where they charge $10 for a glass in a jar. I'm covered in dust, but my mood's alright. Cheaper than dating and cheaper than nights of waiting in lines for a lukewarm drink. I'd rather lose one more photo etch parked down the kitchen sink. Storage crisis, shelf two's bowed. Closet's just a secret hangar row. Bedside table, that's the car show stand. Bathroom counter is a desert sand. Guests come over, yeah, once a year. Ask how many little dudes you got in here. I smile wide, say just a few. They trip over Normandy in the hallway too. That one tank's missing half a track. This pilot's arm is on backward jack, but step said, go out, meet someone new, dress real sharp, buy him dinner too. I priced one night of romance and charm. That's 3 big bombers and a farm. He came home broke with a mild regret. I dry fit a battleship, came out ahead. He bought cologne, I bought sprue cutters. We're both inhaling fumes, just different flavors. So raise your knife to the crooked seams, those sanding sticks and those half-dried beams. Raise your brush to the paint that runs. We're saving cash while we ruin our foes. I build trains, bikes, castles, and critters. All my exes think I'm bitter, but I'm just broke in a smarter way, buying tiny wheels instead of Chardonnay. I'm spotted with glue, but my heart's in sight. Cheaper than dating and cheaper at night than trying to charm some stranger's heart. I'll romance this 148 kit and call it art. I got a fleet on the fridge, an air wing on the chair, a rally car rally on the stairway there. House full of plastic, soul full of glee. I'll take a crooked canopy over therapy. So if you ask why I stay indoors with paint on my face and glue on the floor, I'll just smile, point to the shelf in shame, say I could have blown it all on love. Instead I built a plane. I light a candle to the sprue tree, lay out tweezers like a shrine, whisper, please be kind tonight, then drop apart at the worst time. It vanishes into the carpet, dimension shift beneath my knees. Somewhere tiny thunders rumbling in a cloud of plastic shavings and disbelief. Oh, the gods of modeling live up in the rafters laughing. Every time my finger sticks, they demand another.
3, 2, 1. Alrighty, and I think we're running a real long lag tonight. It looks like it's like 20 seconds before I see it on my phone pop up. Of course, cell phones, there's a little bit more of a lag because, you know, the satellites have to link up in outer space. But anywho, let's see, Windows capture, let's center that, transform, fit to screen, and pull that down a little bit. All right. Well, hello everybody. Max and Max's Models here, and we have Steve of Steve's Model Mania. I don't think Ken's going to join us tonight because he is at his grandson's birthday party. Maybe he'll get in later. We'll see. So, okay, people are. I'm not getting on my phone yet, but there's. Okay, we're transmitting live out to the wilderness, and tonight we'll be talking about decals and masking for paint. And whatever else pops up. But before we get started, Tommy Anderson had a request, and I figure Livestream's a perfect place to put it out. Let me go back to his email real quick. Apparently, he is got the old Aurora F-111, and I think he's missing an engine for it or something. I meant to have this ready. First off, can you guys hear us okay? Steve, give me a test count.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay. I get some emails now that I was like, oh, I'll go find his email, and it's like, oh yeah, you're scrolling down way further. There we go. Was this it? Oh crap. Okay, Tommy, if you're on, maybe you should put it in the comment, put it in the stream what it was you were looking for. Let me see if I can just, let's see. Okay, I'm going to have to use email on my big computer. I try to use my phone to do a lot of the stuff while we're on live, just so it doesn't bog down the computer. I should probably get a new computer, but let me just check real quick. This has turned into kind of a parts exchange program as much as anything else, and I'm happy to do it because I know how frustrating it is to have like a vintage kit or something, you're missing a part, and let's see, Tommy. Okay. Oh gosh, I've got so many emails from him. Okay. He's the one that did that little Aurora F-107 that started off the crappy kit build, and it may have been the crappiest of all the crappy kits there. He did not have anything nice to say about that kit.
Well, the kit certainly lived up to the reputation.
No. It lived down to the reputation.
Oh.
Let's see. Oh, gosh. You know, to be honest with you, I mean, I kind of understand, but sometimes I wonder why the Aurora it seems to have one of the strongest sentimental attachments of any kit model company out there. And maybe it's because they made so much different stuff, but sometimes I wonder, if they made such junk, why does everybody have such a love affair with them? And I'm like, you know, the creatures, I think, had a lot to do with that.
No, you mean Aurora.
Aurora, what did I say?
You said Revell.
I'm sorry, I'm in Aurora. But, oh man, I can't believe I just thought of this now. Anyway, Tommy needs, I think it's a rear exhaust for a... Oh my gosh. You know, great. I was looking at this a little while ago, and now that I'm trying to find it, you know, ain't that always the way? Oh, here it is. Ask the glue troopers if anyone has any spare parts to the monogram F111A. I need one of the two-piece exhaust pieces to finish my Aurora F111B. Okay, I'm not exactly sure how those work together, but I'm sure there's a reason that he's asking for that. If anybody's got that, just if you have Tommy's email, let him know. If not, send an email to me and I'll let him know. But try to hook a brother up. You know, glue troopers stick together. We're always trying to help each other out. All right. And let me put that back up to full screen. All righty. So let me log out of here so I'm not wasting bandwidth that could be better used for the live stream. Close that. Hope I don't shut everything down. So I put the Babs here. And remember, guys, if you go to Universal, take the tour and ask for Babs. I'm sure most of you get that joke if you don't watch Animal House. And one of the reasons I chose the Babs to put on as my little piece of set dressing today, it was because of the very complex canopy that had to be masked off. And it's all in dark colors of the dark inside, so unless you're in really good light, it's really hard to see it, but it actually came out pretty good. And that made me think, finally, I'm starting to get canopies that look decent. And I know, we all know, best Bond girl, Lana Wood. Steve, that's for you. You're the Bond girl expert.
Okay.
While Rob Altus says, I'm sorry, who said, Slugo said, best Bond girl, Lana Wood. Was she the one that tried to get him in the Lotus when he was underwater?
No, she was the one they threw out of the hotel window.
Oh, the girl. I have friends in this town.
Yes.
And the best line in all of Bond is here. Oh, good shot. I didn't know there was a pool down there. The other line I remember from that movie is when they pull him out of the oven, you figure, he's doomed now. He's in the crematorium. The thing opens up. Hey, the diamonds, they're paste. It's like, and I had to look at my because I was a kid when I saw that. What is paste? And he explained how they fake diamonds.
No, the best line in the movie is when he lands in Vegas with the corpse of Peter Franks, who's supposed to be him.
Uh
And Felix Leiter is the customs guy.
huh.
And he's looking over the body and he goes, okay, I give up. Where did you hide the diamonds? And he goes, alimentary, my dear.
Plenty O'Toole. Mary Goodnight. I tell you what, I'm pretty sure that Ian Fleming had some, how can I put this ever so delicately, some frustrations given the names he gave these girls.
Some of the names he came up with, you were like, what?
uh,
I mean, when I saw Goldfinger, I was like, what? That's her name? They let that on the screen?
But anyway, so I'm getting some halfway decent canopies coming out now, and I thought we'd first talk about masking and then we'll talk about decals. Now, I will show you something that should show up on the camera here. If you look at the top wing at this distance, these decals look fine. All right? And the bottom ones look good too. If you look at them real close, you start to see the edges curling and everything, especially right here. I trimmed out, once they'd hardened, I trimmed out and removed the part that had browned out, I guess rusted effectively. A couple of decals I wasn't able to say, but all the major ones I was, and they're the ones that matter. Now, Babs really is a beautiful airplane. It very much has that Rocketeer 1930s look to it. But one of the things that I ran into, I guess we'll start off with the decals. I'm going to start off with mistake number one. I'm sure we've all had this happen. You get the decals on, especially on an older kit, and they really look good. There's no yellowing or rusting. They look great and crisp and fine. Oh, these are going to be great. The paper looks great. You put them in the water and they immediately disintegrate. That happened with the Bonanza decals. All right. Guys, rule number one. If the decals are over, what would you say, Steve? 10 years old, 15 years old?
Sometimes you get them that are really old and they're still good. And other times you get them that are a couple of years old and they fall apart.
So at some point, you just need to cover it with the Restorer fluid. And I mean 2 good coats. 1 coat, let it harden, put another one on it. Those Bonanza decals look like they were printed yesterday. When they hit the water, they turned into crumbs. So what's your worst, or one of your worst decal disasters? And with that happening? I mean, you're like, oh, these are fine.
I was doing a race car once, and it had an elaborate decal, formation.
F1 car or?
Yeah, one car. And when I put them in the water, they were fine. As soon as I went to take them off, they broke up into a million pieces.
Was that like an F1 car or a?
Yeah, it was like a rally car.
You don't really do NASCAR kits, do you?
No, I used to, but I kind of just got bored with them.
Being from the deep south, if you're a model builder down here who builds cars, you don't have a couple of NASCARs on the shelf, people wonder if you're not a commie spy.
They have very bad resale values. Like on eBay and stuff?
Oh, they're $5. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're like, they have no value to them.
Well, that's because they're all the same car repeated a gazillion times with different decals. And that's Salvino's business model.
Welcome to Salvino's, yes.
Yeah. And, but on the other hand, you got to respect them for they're still in business. I mean, they're.
Oh yeah. I mean, hey, that's the perfect scenario. You get the molds for cheap that somebody already did, and you just make decals in boxes.
Sometimes I wonder if you can't tell what part of the world or the country somebody's from the kind of cars they build. I mean, Sarah Jane makes all these beautiful models, but hers are all the the European rally cars and stuff like that. Yep. Bubba and Skeeter, North Carolina, are making everything NASCAR, and they're holding it all up to the shrine of number 3, and that's Dale. I know a comedian. He's a country boy. Back when I was doing stand-up comedy, who I thought was going to get beaten up in the parking lot because he made Dale Earnhardt the brunt of his jokes.
Oh no!
This is before the accident. But he goes, a lot of you boys down here worship Dale Earnhardt. I'm still waiting to see the Dale Earnhardt wing of the burn ward for children, which,
Some old guys he crashed.
and they didn't like that. And I'm like, Dale was not a nice guy.
No, he wasn't.
And they didn't call the Intimidator for nothing. But
I made my fair share of NASCAR models when they were sort of the thing in the 80s, 90s. But I mean, I have a model of Rusty Wallace's #2 Grand Prix that was on the desk of the president of Penske South because I built it for him.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. They just kind of lost their.
Well, it was kind of a fad for a while too.
It was, because most of what everybody was coming out with were tons of NASCAR cars. Because, as you said, you could do the Thunderbird and you could have 20 cars. You could have the Monte Carlo and have 20 cars.
Mm-hmm.
It was the same kit, just had different decals in a different box.
Well, since we're speaking of decals and cars, I want to pop one up here. This is the Hemi Under Glass, the Barracuda, which is the one Leno rolled over in, in 2016, I think?
Yeah, well, he rolled over in the later version.
Right. Riddle was driving the thing.
Yeah.
And Riddle passed away a few years ago, but, he was 80 years old when that rollover happened, and Jay weren't no spring chicken either, and they both walked away unscathed. But the reason I bring this car up, obviously we're going to go off on tangents because it's, kind of what we do. But this kit was in the crappy kit build because the gentleman who sent it to me said that it was just a very tedious kit to build. It had all kinds of fit and finish problems. But I think the finished product is gorgeous. But, excuse me. I'm going to have a sip of water here. But he made a real silk's purse out of a sow's ear with this thing. But you look at the decals, he really did a fantastic job of getting the decals in this thing. And a rolling research laboratory. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. I'm not going to sit here and apologize for going off on a tangent. For Christ's sakes, I'm Captain Tangent. That's right. Is what I do. Okay, so Steve, will you please tell me, I know it's got Shrewsbury's name on it, this is the early one, but will you please tell me what on God's green earth was the idea behind putting a Hemi in the back seat under glass?
It was just an exhibition car. That's all it was.
So basically it was a glorified, look what we can do because we can do it.
Exactly.
Right.
And Hearst backed it because it was the Hearst Hemi under glass, and they were the king of, shifters at the time. And so they said, hey, let's build something that's promotional, that everybody will say, hey, look at that when it goes down the track. They made this.
Okay, I'm going to tell you something that I'm not proud of.
Okay.
When I was in the Army, I bought a 74 Spirit of America Nova.
Okay.
And somebody said,
I wouldn't be proud of that.
Huh?
You're right, I wouldn't be proud of that.
Hey. Okay, there's a long, boring backstory behind that I'm not going to waste time boring you with. But
okay.
I knew somebody had a Nova back when they were hot cars. And I said, it's a Nova, I'll get one, right? It was a pretty car, though. A little early. Spirit of America should have come out in 76, but I digress. Somebody said, you need to put a Hearst shifter in it. I had no idea what a Hearst shifter was. So we go to a parts store and we buy the little handle for the shifter with the finger grooves that says Hearst, and we put it on there. So all that time I thought I had a Hearst shifter.
Okay.
You want to tell them what a Hearst shifter actually is?
Hearst shifter had closer ratios with the shift, which meant that the linkage was of a certain length that when you made the throws, it was a shorter throw.
Now, because I had that Hearst shifter handle on there, I honestly thought I had a Hearst shifter. So I had a car that had a standard box issue, factory regular automatic transmission but it was on the floor, right? But I honestly thought I had I got a Hearst shifter in it. Just talk about a counterfeit hot rod. There are other reasons I remember that car, but I can't share those on a public venue. Anyway, so
Luggo just jumped on it. Hearst shifter girl, Linda Vaughn. The queen of drag racing.
The things we remember.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, I don't know. Maybe the 70s really were better. Anywho, back to decals and stuff. The gentleman who did that car, I forget off the top of my head, unfortunately, because of, blonde. But I think you did a fantastic job on that car, and I appreciate the fact that you struggled through all of the difficulty to get those decals. What?
Jonathan says, good thing it wasn't a Patty Hearst shifter.
Yeah, then you wind up robbing banks and marrying an FBI agent, but that's another story. Didn't she marry the FBI agent that was supposed to guard her or something like that?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. Let's don't even get started on that. That is something of our time, that best not divulged in. So, getting back to decals. So, first, if the decals are over, and it's hard to say, you got to judge the condition. You got to see how dry the paper is, maybe, because sometimes you get these decals that look great. But I noticed with the Bonanza, the back of the card was really dry. But if you expect paper to be dry, I mean, it's held on by sugar glue. But I had no indication that those decals would be bad. Now, here is part of the catch with that. Every company that makes decals makes them to a different quality. And you can take 100 sets of decals, pick out the ones you're sure are good, and half of them will explode as soon as they hit the water. Because you don't know the chemical makeup. The old Revell decals, like on my Spitfire from the 60s, I built that Spitfire Mark I that I have on my shelf right now, which, by the way, ain't a great kit. And I used the factory decals. They were thick as shoe leather, but they were still perfectly good. They broke a little bit. I had to be careful. I got them on the model without any trouble. It was manipulating them once I got them on the model. I broke some corners off. I just drilled in bullet holes. Worked perfectly. Without boring you guys, I wanted that Mark I Spitfire from Revell because it had the Linwood artwork, which I think I have on the shirt right here. Is this it? No, that's the one that Matt Teven did for me of the TARDIS. And by the way, guys, don't forget Matt Line, 1961, Matt Teven. He does the stuff. He's a contract artist. If you need some artwork done, give him a call. He's a great guy. He does great work. He's over in the UK. Cannot give him enough credit. He's the one that did that art. Well, I can't see it in this light, but I got it up on the wall, and I can't thank him enough for that. It was very gracious. Anyway, I may not take commercials, but by God, I'll do promotions. So, Steve, you're drinking out of a plastic cup with a straw? How 1980s. I like to do the whole Dean Martin thing.
Oh, it's a cool.
Anyway, so I highly recommend if you got any kind of vintage kit, you put at least 2 thick coats of the decal restorer fluid on the decals, because you just don't know. It's an insurance policy. But remember, the only thing it will do is keep the decals together in one piece. It does not guarantee they will stick. Quit yawning. Yes, Sergeant Conkey. I never made Sergeant. I made Captain, but not Sergeant. These decals on the Babs, I had put 2 thick coats on, and they did stay together. Unfortunately, when I laid them on, the edges rolled up. And they went on smooth. They went on fine. It's as they started to dry, they rolled up. I wound up razoring them off after they dried. So here is a thought. It will not work in every situation, but it's just a thought. When you put that restore fluid on there, all you're doing is putting a new film on top. That's it. Okay. Once it's hard, you dip them out. I have the habit of trimming off around the edge of the decal because it makes one solid film, and I didn't want to put all that film on the model. But hindsight being 2020, maybe it'd be better to give it some space, create a nice sizable border around it. So when you lay it on the model, maybe you can wrap it around and lay it out. Once the decal hardens, if it's going to curl up, it'll probably curl up around those edges, and you can trim them off with no loss.
Eric wants to know who makes the decal restore fluid.
The same people make Microsol and Microset. Who is that? Is that the name of the company?
Microscale.
Microscale. And it's just a thick, syrupy, clear liquid that goes on there. Oh, for God's sakes, don't do what I did. Use a brand new or absolutely clean brush, because I grabbed a brush that I had cleaned, but apparently not well enough. And when I dipped it in there and smeared it on, I got little thin colorations of the paint that had been on the brush before. So I recommend you keep some brushes aside just for that. Very soft bristle, preferably with a wide brush width.
Copperhead says he said never use restore fluid. He used clear nail polish.
I've heard of that, doing that, and I haven't used it, but I'm sure it works fine. It provides a coating over it. That's what they all do, so I'm sure it works fine. And
what about floor wax? What about floor wax?
I use floor wax to seal the decals when they're on. But it makes a hard cover. I don't know how flexible. I mean, I've never done it, so I can't really speak to it. It might work. I mean, you know what? Maybe I'll do that at some point.
Says testers in Tamiya also make restore fluids.
It makes sense. Partly because Garfield sent me a bunch of the stuff, and I've used it, and it works great, and I wound up just getting used to it. But use something, for God's sakes. Don't trust an old decal.
J.M. Chaldek says, if you want to keep an old decal from curling up due to lack of adhesive, a mixture of white glue and water applied to the surface works.
I can see that working. Here's the catch on that. Because I do use thin white glue for all kinds of stuff. It's kind of a little catch-all. But when you do that, the thing you have to be careful of is the stuff can dry pretty quick. And if you don't have everything in place, it's stuck. Yeah. When it sticks, it sticks.
And yes, Eric, I have sprayed clear on decals. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't.
Which is why some people use floor wax to cover them instead of the clear. Which brings us kind of naturally into the next problem. There are several schools of thought about what to do. Some people like to use floor wax. Some people like to use the lacquer clear coats. I kind of think it depends on which kind of paint you're using. And there's a gotcha you have to be careful of. You have to look at what's on the surface of the model, acrylic, lacquer, or enamel. All right? Now, as you guys know, one reason I use acrylics and spray rattle can lacquers is because they dry very quickly, because I have the patience of a shrew, which is absolutely the worst personality characteristic for a model builder. But if you're using an enamel paint, this is just a maxism, give it 2 full days to gas out before you start doing anything with it. Because enamel, unlike lacquers and acrylics, especially acrylics, acrylic just lays on the surface. It's pretty harmless. It can be removed with water or isopropyl. Enamels actually chew in to the plastic. They acid their way in there. If you're not happy with something that happened with enamel, some people tell you, well, get mineral spirits or something and remove it. I'm like, you might be better just masking it off and painting it over with some clear coat and then some paint than trying to remove it. Because I've removed enamel from models, and I know there are some, that purple stuff, you can soak it in that'll help get it off. But the styrene ain't quite right after that, and God forbid you remove any clear parts. I have had enamels destroy clear parts. Oh God, I'm having bad flashbacks to that thing. Polycarbonate, you swine. I'm sorry, unrelated. Had to do with my old motorcycle. I screwed up the windshield on it. Sorry. Dot 3 takes off enamel paints and is pretty dang well. Okay, well, I'm not familiar with Dot 3. I haven't used. That's one of the other things. You realize if you're going to be like, the advanced model builder who gets into this stuff, you kind of got to be a chemist. Because I read some of these articles even in Fine Scale Modeler or Scale Modeler magazine, and some of the stuff these guys get into are just, they're chemistry lessons. I'm trying to read the comments here. Water helps. Krylon crystal clear coat. You usually like. Oh, by the way, somebody asked about using Krylon. I have used Krylon in big models like the big Jiminy that I did, and it worked great. It worked fine. I had no problems with it.
Depends on what you're painting.
Soak your enamel paint in vats. I've heard that brake fluid. I've heard that'll do it. You have to remember something else. Not all styrene is created equal. You might get away with that with the nice styrene made by Tamiya or Hasegawa, and then you use it on a Novo kit and the whole airplane dissolves. And I'm totally making that up. I'm just saying.
Simple green works.
Simple green. That was one of the. What's the other one? The purple power. Is purple power.
Purple, yeah, the purple stuff. Yeah, but you got to leave it in there about 2 days.
Yeah, I soaked my P8 in it. I had an old monogram P80 F80 shooting star, and I figured, I'd done a horrible job on it. I wanted to redo it, and I soaked it in purple. And I did a video on it several years ago when I was in the old TARDIS, and I soaked it for a couple of days, and it got most of the stuff off. And the model is on the shelf today, completely repainted, so it worked. Boy, this is light now. I love it. Hey, Pio, I like your 007 road race background.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't that thing destroy the company that made it?
Yes, it did, because it was like about 100% defective.
Who made that thing?
Gilbert.
Yeah. We survived the radioactive home chemistry set,
yeah,
but we couldn't survive the James Bond racetrack.
That was a shame too.
When I think of the Gilbert Toy Company, I swear to God, what's his name? Maynard, the character that from Saturday Night Live.
Mr. Mainway from Mainway Toys.
Mainway, Irwin Mainway. I mean, I've used him on this. I swear to Aykroyd. I think that outside of the Blues Brothers and Ghostbusters, that may be his single most. That was to him, Aykroyd, what Samurai, the Samurai character was the Belushi.
Yeah, well, and Beldar.
And well, that's true. Okay, he's behind Beldar. I gotta admit that. But Johnny Bag of Glass. It's a science project.
It's prisms.
Oh God, I really should have snuck in another one, but oh well. You think it's fun now?
That was a shame that it put them out of business. It really was. I mean,
the Gilbert Toy Company. They could be you could actually write that as a movie or a mini series.
Oh yeah. Nobody would believe it either.
Nobody would believe it. That's true.
Yeah.
But the decals, I've heard several people say, put some thinned out white glue on the model, and I have done that on occasion. I made the mistake, but it was an experiment. I sacrificed and got a crappy kit to do this. I was thinking, if the solvent is basically super thin Tamiya glue, what if I put a little of the super thin glue under it and put the decal down? And it did grab, but it also shriveled, shrank, malformed, smeared, did all kinds of stuff. When I was done, that model airplane looked like a painting by Salvador Dali. You've heard of the melting clocks or seen the melting clocks?
Yep.
Imagine the melting USAF's insignias. Anyway, so that was a failed experiment. Don't do that at home, boys and girls. So anyway, where the decals are concerned, the other thing you run into, and I've had a lot of trouble with old decals, you put the film on them so the decals come off in one piece. You're like, great, I'm in good shape. But then they won't freaking adhere. Even using, I've used that Tamiya and a couple of the Mark Fit and a few of the adhesive enhancers, you're supposed to be able to put on there, and microset. And I put it on there, and I put the decals on, and those things just will not adhere. I'm sorry, they will not stay down. So maybe white glue, thinned out white glue is the only answer available. But the problem is now I've smeared microset all over the bloody model, so I got to clean all that up, thin out some white glue, which by the way is basically Canopy glue, which I have been using to make a lot of windows lately because I'm making a lot of models without clear parts. Although I got to admit, except that I hung the banana when I filled in those Bonanza windows with the with the Canopy glue because there were no clear parts. I hung it upside down so they would bulge out a little bit, and they did. And they started getting clear. I went, great. And I flipped it over, put the windshield on it, came back a day later, and they'd sunk back in. So apparently it takes longer for those things to truly harden than you think. Just because it's clear doesn't mean it's gassed out completely.
Deca's got the best solution. He says, simplest solution for old decals, buy new aftermarket ones.
Clearly, he does not understand the purpose of the exercise. Why spend 30...
Or he doesn't have the patience for the exercise.
Oh, I was going to say, why spend $30 on new decals when you can spend $60 trying to fix the old ones? It's because I will not be defeated. He tasks me. The modeling gods task me.
Yeah, they're just looking down at us and saying, what can we do next to just ruin his day?
Oh, Lord. But well, that's one of the advantages of the Godzilla kit. There's no decals. Okay, the time is 33.
Hey, 33 minutes in.
That's the nice thing about monster kits like Godzilla and King Kong. Which, by the way, I told Steve this just before we went live. Guys, I just watched a 3-hour documentary on YouTube about Peter Jackson's making King Kong, the movie, in '05. You're going to want, you trust me, I did not appreciate how many models and miniatures were used in that thing. You're going to watch it. As much work as you think they did, trust me, you haven't scratched the surface. Everybody goes, it was a CGI King Kong. Not exactly. It's way more complicated than that. But Skull Island and all the runs that they built, over 100 yards of physical model miniature set to run the cameras through for those chase scenes. Okay? And they built a 1/12 scale model of the SS Venture, the ship they were on. It shows the cast that built it standing in front of it. A 1/12 scale model ship. The thing was bigger than most people's bass boats or speed boats. And it shows everybody sitting in there. Well, it wasn't like Titanic big. You know, the model built at the Titanic was like 100 feet long or 80 feet long. And here's the part that model builders got. This is the problem when you give model builders an unlimited budget. We need a 1/12 scale model of the ship. So they go out, they actually had a real ship that they used, that they modified to give it a different bow and everything. They welded on a straight bow and everything to make it look like a ship in the 30s. But they photographed every inch of that thing, and then the model builders got their hands on it, and they made that ship in 1/12 scale to include all the internal lighting, everything that was in the bridge, like coats hanging on the racks, the coffee cup on the windowsill, because they're model builders. Stuff no one who saw the movie would notice, but they're model builders, so they just went completely off the chains. All the external lights and everything, they were afraid of the heating problem. So they had a professional glass blower make 1/12 scale lanterns and lighting fixtures that are all over the ship. So they were made of real glass so they could handle the heat. That model needs to be in a bloody museum somewhere. They even put the little 20-cent hook that you put on, like a screen door. It's designed so they open the door on the bridge, they can hook it open. Just a little 20-cent metal hook. In 1/12 scale, they put that working on the side of the ship, even though the door didn't open, because they were master modelers, and that's how their brains work. You'll never see it on camera. When Peter Jackson went out and saw it, he was flabbergasted at the detail of that model. And he didn't have a problem with the extra money they spent, the extra effort they put in, because he's kind of a model guy himself. I mean, he owned Peter Jackson's the reason Wingnut Wings exist. So,
Meanwhile, Sluggo wants to know if you could leave a link to the video.
hold on, let me see if I can do that right now. Steve, be a dancing bear, would you, and entertain the people while I search for this.
And how many of you saw that King Kong movie?
Oh, I did for sure.
You don't count. I'm asking them.
Okay. Fair enough.
I mean, I like the dinosaur fights. I thought those were pretty.
Dude, they have a whole. Here it is. They have an entire section just dedicated to that. Okay, let me go to my channel. YouTube. Well, keep talking. Keep talking. Entertain the people. Come on. Tap and dance.
He's putting a link to the video so we can all be educated, and that will help us make models when they introduce some more prehistoric scenes kits later in the year, and you can build your own dioramas of Kong Island.
YouTube. Well, keep talking. Keep talking. That's me opening my channel so I can edit the video. Edit the video. Okay.
And quite a few have the DVD.
Kong, Peter Jackson documentary. Watch this. Hold on. Watch this 3-hour video. There will be a quiz. Quiz does not have an S. Paste. Save. Okay, it's in the description now, guys. Alrighty then. Done and done. So, but getting back to decals, Steve.
Yes.
What advice do you have on the application and salvation of decals? Because we've talked about using the white glue to set them down, but once they're down, you got to clear coat them once they harden. Some people use floor wax. Some people use clear coat. You have any preference?
My experience is to stay away from clear coat, because if you've got a decal that's sort of suspect and with some difficulty, when you usually clear coat it, it sort of reacts with what you were using to get it to stay down, and usually it makes the decal crinkle up or crack.
Really?
Which, yeah,
I actually have had that happen. I was talking about that on the Babs when the clear coat made the antenna wire crinkle up, but now it's straight, as you can kind of see. I guess not. It doesn't show up that well in the camera. But now the antenna wire is straight. I just wrapped it a couple loops around the forward antenna. Kong! That was I have completely lost track now. Oh, that was Tom Fox. He changed his name from Tom Fox to It's Tom Fox. I'm sure there's a story behind that. I'm picturing William Shatner yelling Kong. But yeah, decals. The old Revell decals were so thick you could use them as frisbees. But when I put them on the Spitfire, they were still good. The problem was they were so thick that no amount of Solvaset would get them to lay down. Like over the rivets and everything, they wouldn't melt in. I had decals that did it. Actually, the UPC decals on this Babs, they melted in beautifully before I even put any Solvaset on them. When I just put the microsol, when I put the microset and laid them down, they shrunk right down into place. So these decals did one of two things: either shrunk down or they curled up. But the part that didn't curl up sat really nicely, so I trimmed around it. And you might notice, be careful I grab this thing. That I got rid of the brownish rusted area once they'd hardened into place. Now this is a max technique. Results may vary. Eric had said over at Celebrating Vintage Mall of Kits, he said, put them out in the sun. Well, we haven't had sun here in 5 days. So I went ahead and put them on, and then when they hardened, I used an X-Acto knife to just etch out the brown, the film areas in between the letters, and using a pencil eraser and a Q-tip, they came right off. So now I have some pretty decent decals on there, even though the areas in between them were kind of nasty. And that brings up the next thing I was going to talk about, and that was getting rid of the brown. When decals brown out. Some people say put them in sunlight and it'll bleach them out. The problem with that is, well, first off, you got to have sunlight, so that's not going to help you in Canada in December. But the other problem is that I've had people say that, yeah, but they'll rebrown with time, that it's a temporary fix. And I think the simplest thing is once the decal's down, just cut it out.
One of the biggest problems you have is when you have either word or letter decals that are really old. and the clear in between the letters and around the letters is all brown.
Yep.
So you got to cut them out with an X-Acto knife.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly
So
what I did here.
so you get that out of there, and you got to be really close to the color so that you get it all out, because otherwise then it has a brown aura around it.
And the other problem is you got to make sure those decals are completely dried and set, because when you start trimming, if there's any play in them, and you got to use a brand new X-Acto knife blade.
Now, what we haven't taken into account is there a difference, which there must be, based upon where the kit's been stored?
Oh, absolutely. Oh God, yes. In fact, that may be the single most important factor.
Right. If the kit's been in the garage for 20 years, where it's hot and cold, hot and cold, hot and cold,
moist and dry, moist and dry, moist and dry,
the chances are the decals are shot. If it's in the basement where the temperature is the same and the humidity is the same, you probably got a shot at getting a lot of years out of it.
Yep. And don't forget, even if you build a brand new kit with brand new decals today and cover them and lacquer and do everything that's supposed to be, as the years roll by, there's still just a little thin piece of, whatever film attached to a piece of plastic. Eventually, you see these models that were magnificent when they were made. The guy did everything right. 30 years later, they're flaking off. It's all temporary, That's one of the problems with restoring old models, is that this isn't shiny new, styrene. It's dried out over the years. It's lost some of its properties, which is one of the problems with building vintage kits. When I built the B25, our very first group build, I think, was the B25 build. And I got an old Revell kit that I'd built as a teenager. One you've seen photos of it hanging from the ceiling with the guy hanging out of the bomb bay. Ridiculous way that was in our bedroom, because we were. Anyway, I just almost moronically thought that this would be like building a new one. I broke 3 or 4 major components, including an entire horizontal stabilizer half. Just snapped on me, because this freaking styrene is 40 years old. It's brittle now. And even, styrene loses its qualities over time. The stuff, when they made these things, they were made for a 12-year-old to put on a shelf and be destroyed within 2 years. No one thought 60 years later people would be collecting this stuff, and one of the things I like to say on this channel from time to time is, because I am a very nostalgic guy, maybe too much so, and I will say that you can't live in the past, but you can visit. But trust me, brothers, you got to keep that visit brief, and you got to remember something else. We've all heard the phrase, you can't go home again. I don't know where it originated from, but we've all heard it. When I was a kid growing up, building all blah blah blah, I went in the Army when I was 17. When I got out of basic and AIT, which was only a few months long, and came back to my hometown just 3.5 months later, everything seemed small. It lost its grandeur, because I'd seen a little more of the world and been exposed to some bigger things. And I was a little older and blah, 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 and all the other stuff. Then I realized we had these memories of the past, but they're not accurate, because we remember them with a certain amount of, for lack of a better word, nostalgia. And we were smaller. I loved having, the cars in the 60s and 70s. I had so many of them. And I thought it'd be great to get a 67 Impala, man. And a guy just down the road from here, 3 minutes away, had a 67 Impala. He put an Edelbrock on it. I mean, he'd rigged that puppy up, man. It was up, 328, I think? Or 428, I forget. Huh?
427?
427. It was, and that thing would pass anything but a gas station. I mean, it ran like a scared cat. But I'm just driving it down the road, and I'm like, I don't remember these bench front seats being this uncomfortable. But they were. We were just too young to know, And I'm driving the thing down the road doing this. And Steve, I'm doing the Hollywood, steering wheel actors thing. And I'm like,
try stopping it. You got to plan.
Yeah, you got to plan the stop. Now, he had put some disc brakes on front, but I was like, I don't remember these things driving like this. But they
because
did.
You had nothing better to compare it to.
Because I've been driving modern cars so long. Chuck Yeager summed it up best. when the movie The Right Stuff came out, I think in 83 or 84, Yeager, who had a bit part in the movie, he was a technical advisor. He was hired to do a promotional thing. So they got some P-51s for him and a few others to go to like air shows to promote the movie. And Yeager had flown Mustangs and was, I think, a 13 victory ace in World War II. But he'd been flying jets for the past 40 years. 30 years. Yeah, 40 years. And he got back in a Mustang and tried to take, he goes, and this is Yeager in an interview, he goes, for Christ's sakes, I don't know how the hell we ever flew these things. And he had to completely relearn you'll lose that stuff. And I brought this up, I think, in a video recently, just a few days ago. I'm checking out, and the girl working behind the counter at the grocery store's got to be every bit of 17, right? Really sweet girl. She just goes, and I don't know, I've turned into that old guy from the Progressive commercials, you can't stop you from turning into your parents. And I'm like, God, this is like $60. When I was a kid in the 60s, he's doing $4. She goes, yeah, things were so much better in the 70s. And which is not something you normally hear from a teenager these days, right? And my ears perked up, my mind kind of went into overdrive. Thank God my wife wasn't with me. She would have frog walked me out of there. But I said, well, they were and they weren't. We always remember these old days with nostalgic eyes because of things we love to remember. We forget about all the crap that sucked. So, enough on that.
It didn't suck at the time.
It didn't suck at the time. But
in retrospect, it sucked.
Yeah. But anyway.
I mean, they always say, what the best anti-theft device is for a muscle car?
Oh, yeah. A standard transmission.
Right. Because the thieves can't drive them. Yeah, they can't drive them.
What's the other pedal for?
Yeah.
So anyway, all right. So, any other information on decals?
You talk about being with your wife and saying, right, last night we go out to dinner.
Okay, let's hear it.
So the waitress, now we go to this place, we have the same waitress, she's nice, she's funny, we kid around with her. So I didn't know what her name was. So she brings the bill, and I look on the bill, and it has her name. The name is Josie. So I said to her, so is this what you've been doing since you and the Pussycats broke up?
Oh, my God. Steve, did you really?
She cracked up. She goes, I get
Your wife cracked up. The girl didn't get it.
The girl did. She said.
She did, really?
Yeah, she said, I get that a lot.
Oh, my God. You see, I'm glad to see that she got the joke. Because, you're getting older when you make these passing references about the culture that the person you're talking to just doesn't get.
Why did you say that?
Okay. I've got my own version of that, but we're going to move on. We're going to stay on target.
My wife's favorite.
Steve! Oh, they're lighting you up in the comments.
my wife's favorite statement is, what do you say when I'm not with you?
The same stuff, baby. I just don't get smacked for it.
Yeah, I said nothing different.
Oh, my God. Oh, brother-in-law got a grocery that gave me 200. So, all right. Absolutely,
Whoa.
John Ashley. When in doubt, put in a new blade. Send you to urgent care. Mad Genius Models brings out humans have this amazing out-of-the-world ability to remember the good and remember the bad. It is a survival mechanism. That's exactly what it is. Let me tell you the dumbest thing, since we're on that point and everybody's commenting on it, I'll take the liberty of and I've shared this before, so it's not news. The worst, gosh. It's funny, you think back and one thing layers into another. My Mustang, which I bought my late friend Donovan Henry, Bill and I think it was the last time we rode in the Mustang together too. We took the Mustang out for a drive. That's when I decided I wanted it, by the way. You guys have seen the video of me and him riding together. He's driving. Anyway.
Yeah.
We went, I said, hey, Bill, I want to see my old house. And he if I remember correctly, I may be embellishing here, but if I remember correctly, he's like, are you sure you want to do that or maybe you don't want to do that? And I was like, I want to go see the old house one time. He was right. I should not have.
No.
My last memories of the old house are pretty good. So we go down there, and what I saw was not good. Okay, just leave it at that. We turned around and went back up. So now my last memory of my home that I grew up in is not a good one. It's true. You can't go back. I go back. I haven't been in my hometown in years. Last time I went there, God, I don't know, 5-10 years ago. A lot of the stuff was the same, and there's a comfort in that. But a lot had changed, and life has changed. Things change. But for some reason, the fact they had a Piggly Wiggly just disturbed me because we didn't have one when I grew up. But anyway, okay, so enough of that. So anyway, back. All right, let's get on track here. Back to decals. Anything else on decals we want to cover using old decals? I think we hit that pretty good. The next thing we're going to get into, and I have some imagery here, is masking canopies. Now, I talked about this a little bit recently, and we all know that masking canopies, especially those 1930s and certain airplanes from the 1940s and 50s, is just, man, what is with the Germans and all this freaking glass? But the Americans weren't much better in their 1930s airplanes. Masking canopies is a frickin' nightmare sometimes. But the only advice I offer you is the following. Every time I skip a step or take a shortcut, it blows up in my face. So here is my advice. Vacuform or regular metal. First and foremost, clear coated. I don't care if you use floor wax. I don't care if you use clear lacquer or clear enamel. Clear coat the freaking canopy. Now this one in the pictures happens to be a vacuform canopy, and I did clear coat it inside and outside. Then I marked, since the vacuform had the depressed parts on the inside, I used a marker to mark those, partly to give it inside color that was different, but also so I could see what I was doing with the tape. And man, that made all the difference in the world. Be very careful. Go slow, take your time. Then use the proper thin Tamiya type tape. And for God's sakes, people, use a brand new X-Acto knife blade. If you don't have one of the kits, it's not. First off, I recommend just getting a canopy kit. Now, I know a lot of people like to hand paint these with acrylic and just etch it out, and that's fine. But I knew I was going to be painting the thing with lacquers, so I decided to do it this way, and it turned out really well. That's the one thing about that Helldiver I was happy with, and with the Babs, is that the canopies came out good. 1/72nd scale. Do I need to elaborate? It's a nightmare because you got to cut these very fine areas. You have got to use a brand new blade. You have got to have your thumb or something anchor the tape so it doesn't crinkle up on you. Now, here's the other step that people omit sometimes. Once you have all the masking tape in place, clear coat it again. That will help fill in the areas around the edge of the tape where the paint sometimes capillaries in. All right? Then once you shoot it with a couple of light coats, do not get up close. Do not put a lot of pressure on the canopy. Shoot it from a distance. Make multiple thin coats. And then when it's all done, leave the mask on until the model is done. Because you're probably going to clear coat the whole model. And you might want to dull coat it. Once it's all done, then you can remove the tape. Use a wooden toothpick or some kind of wood. Do not use anything with too sharp a point because you will scratch the vacuform of the acrylic. I mean, most of us already know this, but it's worth repeating. And you can get decent canopies. Nothing, and I mean nothing, impresses me more than these 1/72nd and 1 to 1/44 scale kits that people have taken their time on, done it right, and gotten beautiful demarcation lines on their canopies. That shows me they really took their time and made the effort. And if I were to be a judge, and most judges, the first thing they'll go to on an airplane is the canopy. Because that's the thing people mess up the most.
Paul Adams says, I have never masked a canopy and never will. I would like to hang on to what scrap of sanity I still have.
Paul is not wrong.
Yes, he is not.
There is something to be said for it. For those of you who can hand paint them, my appreciation. That is a beautiful way to do it. Unfortunately, that requires a facility I do not have called talent. Now there is one other thing you can do, and that's paint them with acrylic paints, and then come along with a toothpick later and etch out the smears, because acrylic will flake off. Remember, I said acrylic just lays on top. But of course, obviously, you got to do that before you clear coat it. And I have done a couple that way that actually came out looking pretty good, so I wasn't unhappy with it. But if I'm going to be rattle canning or airbrushing the thing with a lacquer or an enamel, then I feel to get the paint, because I cannot match colors to save my life. If the survival of the planet Earth depended on my ability to match colors, all I could say is buy a seat on a spaceship. So now, I have to take a quick break, so I can do one of the two things. Steve, I can have you entertain the folks, or I can run the outro while we all take a quick intermission. What do you want to do?
Run the outro.
Okay, guys, we're going to run the outro here for just a minute while I take a quick break for station identification. We will be back momentarily. Please don't click off.
Saturday night, I'm in my chair, tiny wing and my tweezers, glue on my hair. Instruction sheet reads like ancient runes. Step 4 was easy, I skipped 1 through 2. Decals folding like origami. Fingerprint right on the cockpit canopy. Masking tape peeled, half the paint, prototype weathering. That's what I'll say. I build planes, cars, tanks, and tiny people. Got a runway on my bookshelf steeple. Fuselage stuck to the cat's new tail, but I swear this time this kit won't fail. I'm covered in paint, but my wallet's fine. Cheaper than dating and cheaper than wine, so I'll stay home sniffing glue all night. These little plastic disasters are my big delight. Airbrush gods, they laugh at me. Orange peel finish on a new RV. Gloss coat puddles, matte coat shines. Silvering decals like frosted lines. One wheel short, the carpet ate it. Spruce shot somewhere, I'll just create it. Landing gear strong on the port side only, so my jet displays like it's feeling lonely. I build ships, trucks, tanks, and tiny heroes. Bank account hovers just above zero, but compare that tab to a fancy bar where they charge $10 for a glass in a jar. I'm covered in dust, but my mood's alright. Cheaper than dating and cheaper than nights of waiting in lines for a lukewarm drink. I'd rather lose one more photo etch part down the kitchen sink. Storage crisis, shelf twos bowed. Closet's just a secret hanger row. Bedside table, that's the car show stand. Bathroom counter is a desert sand. Guests come over, yeah, once a year. Ask how many little dudes you got in here.
Okay, guys, we're back after station identification. Who remembers that? Station identification. Never quite understood what that meant, but that's like you all watch the old TV show Emergency, KMZ 511 or whatever it was. Okay, guys, so the next thing we're going to talk about, we were talking about masking, so let's look at a couple of other options. We talked about the Canopy mask. This is the Mooney that I did, and since I was doing 2 colors, now, obviously, sealing the tape, and what always astonished me about masking, some people use paper, and that's fine, so they don't waste so much tape. But you run through a whole roll of tape doing the average model, and you're like, how can it take this much tape? But I've learned that nothing beats tape. The problem with using paper is often people don't seal it up properly, so because that paint's under pressure, it'll bounce around. It winds up going places you don't want it to. But the big boogeyman on masking is usually is not, because you have to kind of think in reverse. Now on the Babs, I actually used a brush to paint it, so that you get away with using the thin tape, which would curve nicely. And I decided to apply the paint with a brush. I already masked the canopy, obviously, and that worked really, really well. But that was not going to work. And I find that brush painting works better with darker colors. You're less likely to see brush strokes. But on the Mooney, the first thing I did was paint the green stripes. So I masked everything off. Now, I actually had laid the thin tape down in advance because I knew I'd need that as a border and put the bigger tape over it. But you have to be careful to make sure that, you know, you've got only what you want exposed. Once you remove that, it hardens, and I clear coat the model again to put a seal in. Now, I clear coated the model with, once I had the tape in place, I clear coated it again, once again, just like the canopy, so that the clear coat would hopefully fill in the areas under the tape that would capillary. It was not 100%. We still had some capillary action, some of which I really still need to get in there and clean up. Door seals and rivet patterns, all these things create access points for the paint to intrude in. Now, I was rattle canning the Mooney. Rattle cans come out under high pressure. Make sure you stand a distance off. You get up close, you'll force that paint underneath. It's got to be a series of light coats. You cannot hammer it. Airbrushes are much easier to work with in that regard, but the color I wanted I had in the rattle can. So then, of course, the big boogeyman is once you get the first color on, you get the tape removed. Now you have to make sure you remask the proper areas. It is so easy to mask something in reverse, wind up masking the area you want to expose. I actually did on the Mooney at one point, but I caught it before I got around to putting any paint in. So that's really the big boogeyman on that, getting too close, not sealing things in between. And after a while, the paint and the clear coat start to get pretty thick, which can show on the demarcation line. So this is fairly tricky. And another thing I did that I probably shouldn't have, but you can tell here, is I'm reusing the tape. Some people think it's great, you just detacked it, but you don't want to you want to use fresh tape around the edges. So, Brave still eliminates ads on phone. Okay, yeah, there's things out there to get rid of the ads. Go for it. So I wanted to point that out. And the other thing, Barry Steinlich sent me this one. He's doing his Titanic. And you know, the sheer size of this model means you're using a lot of tape, and that's a lot to seal up. And here is the basic, you know, you painted the whole thing white, or maybe it came white, I don't know, but here it is white. And the very next step is to add, and he's using carpenter's tape, which is very common, the low tack stuff. It doesn't take the paint off normally when you come off, but I have found you got to make sure you find a way to seal up the edge of the tape. And just now, I don't know if Barry used an airbrush or a rattle can, something this big. Now I had the big Iwata airbrush. Of course, you also have to worry about the windows, which I imagine were just left hollow at the time. But he got a nice demarcation line, so when he was done, he wound up with a real good looking model. And you know, masking is just a chore. There's no getting around it. Masking is a chore. But one thing I have found that I'll probably use on the Aero, I might use on the Aero Subaru, is the liquid mask. Hold on, let me back up to the first picture. Okay, here we are. I'm putting the that green liquid mask on. Now, one of the nice things you see as it dries, it starts to become clear, and you're always wondering, did I get that corner or not? You know, this thing properly, but you got to wait for this stuff to dry before you paint over it. The nice thing is that you can, with those Revell, they have pretty prodigious ridges for the framing, which made it a lot easier to put this stuff in. But it can get a little tricky. Some guys will go and trim it off when they're done, just to make sure it's not over the framing. And Liquid mask has its own boogaboos, but overall it provides a pretty good job. I have found a lot of guys will do the edges of an area with tape and then just use the liquid to fill in the middle. You know, different strokes, different folks. In fact, a lot of the kits, a lot of the masking kits come with just the edges. You have to fill in the middle section with liquid or something to cover it up. Precision, obviously, is the key, and it's a trick. Everybody's got their own techniques, but man, this is where patience is key. And Vallejo liquid mask from mint green to blue. It dries. I hate this thing's got this little heart symbol on there. I can't get rid of it. It makes it hard to read the last comment.
You get the same problem.
MIG ammo liquid mask is the best I've used. Okay, you know what? I'm going to make a note of that. MIG. But, so now is the point where we kind of open it up to the floor so you guys can start elaborating on your experiences with this stuff. Obviously, some of you had some real good results. Nothing ticks me off more than when I go to these kit model shows and I see all these 1 to 144 and 1 to 72nd scale models with perfect canopies on them. And I'm like, I don't know who you sold your soul to, but demon spawn. It goes green to blue when it dries. Okay, so make a note of the MIG. Let's just real quick run here and see what that stuff's running. MIG, paint, mask, liquid.
Caswayne wants to know, is the Mooney offered in metallic mint green in 1964?
Well, I'll tell you what. I don't know and I don't care, and here's why. This stuff's only like $5-6 a bottle. Because virtually, I would say conservatively, a third of light aircraft have been repainted by the owners to their specification. In fact, our Aluskan had been repainted a couple of times. Musketeer had not. Cherokee had not. The Aztec had not. The Cessna, several of them had. Almost all the light planes have been, the fabric ones have been reskinned. So, yeah. You do see a bulk majority factory paint schemes on light aircraft, but you also see a lot of independent schemes. Now, some guys will overspray the same scheme. It saves them a lot. They don't have to strip the airplane. They just what they'll do is they'll buff it out, and then they will put the same colors right over the old colors just to make them pop. And it does count as a new paint job, and there's something to be said for that. But I've seen countless light aircraft stripped down to the metal and completely repainted. So I thought about doing a stock Mooney scheme, but a lot of these schemes, you go and look at them, they're actually kind of uninspired. Oh yeah, all of our Navajos had been custom painted, and in fact, I was actually there when they were being repainted from the factory scheme. The Pontiac Tempest was offered in mint green metallic paint. And no one is going to confuse a Tempest with a Corvette. I love that movie. My cousin Vinny. I guess I got home working in San Diego. Well, Tommy, I hope it was a good day. Welcome on board. We were talking about you earlier. I did ask everybody if they've got the parts for your F-111. Oh, let's see. Yeah. Hasegawa released the 172nd scale X-Mania KI-15, that's the Babs, for some years back in double-digit markings for both aircraft. Now, by the way, guys, Eric over at Celebrating Vintage Model Kits did cover the Babs. This was actually the kit he gave me, was the one he talked about, so it's all built up now. He also did the Aero Subaru, although he has an earlier edition than mine has the original box art. I did not get out to the Tarbis to work on the Aero Subaru today. Just wasn't feeling it, but I'll probably do it tomorrow. It's a pretty straightforward kit. I mean, so far there hasn't really been any issues. I'm planning to tack glue using that liquid tape once I get the wings and landing gear on it and the tail and the windows in and get them covered up, which is what we're talking about here, masking the windows. I'm still debating if I want to use a liquid or just, I could put the tape on them and trim it off before I even put the glass in, which is actually not a bad way to do it. Use the white glue to seat them, let that harden, and then blast it. Even though it's a white kit, I'll still blast it in white primer and then white paint. But I want to tack glue the cowling on. I'm not installing the engine because I want to put a 44 slug up there. Yes, I do need to get over to Harbor Freight and get the sticky metal weights. That's on the as well. See if Harbor Freight carries that Mr. Hobby tool cleaner, which apparently is the same thing as Tamiya thin glue. And if that's the case, that's a much cheaper way to glue your models together. But once I get the, I'm planning to paint the pilot in a white shirt and black pants like a flight instructor, and put him in. And then if I put anybody in there, the only real reason I want to put the pilot in there, because it's going to sit on the ground, hopefully sit on its nose, is because it would just be that much more weight forward to the main gear, although it weighs next to nothing. But I want to get the cowling tacked on it so that I can mask it off. And again, I'm going to do everything we're talking about here. I might use some decals, but I might decide to spray paint or airbrush the markings on it. If I do that, I mean, that means a full masking job. And at this point, you kind of ask yourself, do I just want to make a nice looking model and put it on the shelf, or do I want to try and really do something outstanding? That Aero Subaru, so far, I haven't had any problems with it, but I haven't really started putting the big parts together yet. I don't really forecast it. I did notice that the fuselage halves do not have alignment pins, but given the tail and the firewall line up, it shouldn't be a problem to get them to line up okay. It's one of the reasons I've liked using Testor's glue lately, the red tube, is that you got some work time with it, and when it bonds, man, that puppy bonds. If it's parts for an F-111, the resin exhaust won't work since they're too large. Tommy, you need to chime in here. Oh, you're missing the horizontal stabilizers? I wonder if I could vacuum form the horizontal stabilizers and then pour some resin in there and make you some out of... Are you planning to build it? Well, I mean, you want them anyway, but... That's a thought. That might be an interesting little experiment. Use that vacuum form machine my wife gave me. Vacuum form the horizontal stabilizers, top and bottom. Put some resin in there, let it harden. Then send them to you. You just glue them together and sand them down. They might fit if you're planning to build it. Then again, it's less likely to be a tail sitter without the tail. Anyway. Jam Cladic says the Aurora monogram exhausts are a little undersized. That's the least of that airplane's problems. I remember wedging a couple of C65s in there and seeing if it would fly, and back in the 70s. And I'll tell you right now, you put a pair of C65s in that thing and put on a pair of metal conduit rails, it will fly. Well, I guess it's more falling with style, but there was a time I had a big thing for jamming model rocket engines into model airplanes and seeing if they would fly. The best performing one I ever got was the F-104. I think it was monogram. It actually went up the rail and went straight up for a while, and then it flattened out and spun around. But and we actually had it on video tape back when they actually had the tape. And I wish I still had that because it was a blood. I was acting like an 8-year-old. I was laughing so hard and jumping up and down. And I was like in my mid-20s. But,
meanwhile, bringing an 8-year-old into the conversation, they are having, I showed up on the news yesterday, they are having the annual Blob Fest in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania, which is where they filmed the original Blob.
Really? Wait.
Yes.
Was Steve McQueen?
Yes.
Well, it was filmed in Phoenix?
Phoenixville, Pennsylvania.
Oh, Phoenix. I was going to say, I don't know.
No, Phoenixville. So they have a yearly thing. It was on the news the other day. So I said to my wife, I said, that would be really cool to go to. And what happens is you buy a ticket, you go to the movie, and they play the movie in the theater. And the part when all of the blob comes out of the projection thing, everybody gets up and runs out of the theater and they film them.
I'm there.
Okay?
When is
And
this?
and my wife says to me, she goes, "What do you eat?" She
At
said,
some level.
I said, "Well, when it comes to this, she goes, why don't you contact your friends? Maybe they don't like to go with you."
You think? We can even get rope Ken in on this one. Tommy,
Yes.
buy a plane ticket.
Yeah.
So when is this?
It's in July. I'll get all of the appropriate information and send it.
Dude, I think I got something going on then, but still, I want to know. And I guarantee you, there's going to be a line of people. I mean, it's going to be full.
Yeah.
It's like chilling.
No, I mean, you got to get tickets.
Okay, here's your trivia, and you better know this. What was Steve McQueen's character's name in the movie?
Steve,
Steve!
Friday, July 10th, Saturday, July 11th, Sunday, July 12th.
I gotta run that by high command, but that is exactly kind of. See, this is the best part about being a retired airline pilot. If I can't get there for free, I take it as an omen I'm not supposed to go.
I just sent you the information.
Thank you very much, and you guys heard it here first. This message is held
Funny
for
other part of that. The guy who produced
the Blob.
and directed the movie,
Mm-hmm.
his daughter and her husband owned the Franklin Mint.
Huh.
Yeah.
So, how many cast members from the Blob can you name? Either the characters or the actors that played them. Now we know Steve McQueen was Steve.
Steve McQueen. I think Anita Corso was his girlfriend.
I have no idea. I'm trusting you to know.
Oh, okay. And then there was the cop,
Mm-hmm.
the town cop.
Yeah, I
Dave,
know he
the
was a
town-
big war hero.
Dave, the town cop. Then there was the war hero guy who didn't trust him.
Yep. I remember his one line, "No one in here but us monsters."
Yeah. And then we had the school principal who was thinking about the moral dilemma of using a rock to break the window of the door so they could get the CO2 extinguishers to fight the Blob because he didn't want to show the students that he was going to break the law.
Tell me Strickland
Strickland
from Back to the Future wasn't based on that guy.
Yes. Yes.
But my wife and I, guys, I think we've kind of covered everything. Unless you have questions about masking, I think we got all that because you guys know how to do it. So now we're moving into the realm of general BS, and I think my wife and I were playing a game the other day. 5 movies that should never be remade and 5 movies that need to be remade. Now, the 5 movies that should never be remade, I think my choices were Forbidden Planet, Ben-Hur, the one with Charlton Heston, Rocky Horror Picture Show, and correct, I don't even remember what the other two. I made Doctor Strangelove, and I'm sure I had another one. But of the 5 movies that need to be remade, I really kind of stumbled on that one. Because I was thinking about that great 50s sci-fi, like Earth versus the Flying... And one of them was the Green Slime. The Green Slime needs to be remade. You can retitle it if you want, but it's actually a strong concept. And it's been used several times in other movies. Andromeda Strain is kind of the Green Slime taken seriously.
Well, the one you don't want to remake is Forbidden Planet.
No, that was my first one not to remake was Forbidden Planet. And so what movies should we be remaking here? I mean, ones that were... The Blob was actually remade. I remember Carol Lindley was in it.
And so was Matt Dillon's brother.
Steve McQueen spent part of his childhood living in a cat house. Yeah, him and Richard Pryor both, huh?
That was true.
No, I agree. Copperhead Modeling, Rocky Horror absolutely should never be remade. It is flawless. Oh yeah, The Birdcage should never be remade. Robin Williams and Nathan Lane's perfect.
On the Beach, even though it was remade, shouldn't have been remade.
No, it should not have been remade. And personally, I prefer the. I saw both, and I definitely preferred the original.
Yeah, the one that
Maltese Falcon. Okay, yeah.
The movie that never could be remade because it would
Blazing Saddles.
What?
Blazing Saddles.
No, It's a mad, 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 mad world.
Ah,
You could never get that many comedians in one movie again.
well, I got to be honest with you though. To be the Mad, 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 Mad World, if you were going to remake it, and there's no reason to, it's perfect.
No,
But it would have to be a period piece. It just wouldn't work today in modern
no,
times.
no.
One of the things that makes movies like that work is the absence of instant communication and you know, because today you would just cell phone somebody, go here and it would
Dig it up.
yeah. Never remake Goldfinger.
Goldfinger should never
African
be
Queen.
remade.
Yeah, you see, these are all great ideas.
None of the Bond movies should ever be remade. None.
Nah, yeah. And now, what movies should be remade? Because there was a lot of sci-fi, like This Planet Earth or This Island Earth, that
No.
were great concepts, but what they suffered from was technical limitations.
I wouldn't remake that.
Nah, I probably wouldn't make that one, but there's a lot of 50s sci-fi that were good ideas. And they kind of did remake The Creature in the Black Lagoon with The Shape of
Yeah.
Water.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I prefer the original.
Yeah, me too.
There was an episode of, I don't know if anybody here watched the TV show Supernatural, but there's a hell dimension, okay, like Earth, but it's another dimension where the demons are taking over. And some of the characters get brought into our dimension so they can live good lives. But the one that played Bobby just goes, let me see if I got this right. He goes, a reality TV show host is the president. The number one movie is about a girl who makes it with a fish. And these people called the Kardashians are the biggest. And you say, we lived in a hell dimension? So come on, guys, start thinking of movies that need to be remade. And no, don't. You're right. They can never remake the Sand Pebbles. Okay, The Battle of the Bulge needs to be remade. That's one that could be remade. It was a horrible movie about an important subject. I told her one of the movies that needs to be is Midway, because the one they made was so full of crap. It wasn't nearly as bad as the movie whose name we do not mention, Pearl Harbor. But Midway it needs to be made properly. And the Battle of the Bulge. A lot of good World War II movie ideas. The Bridget Raymogen and some of the others that really could be remade.
Where Eagles Dare should never be remade.
No, not Where Eagles Dare. Yeah, that was the fiction movies like that. I wouldn't. What was the one where The Eagle Has Landed, where Michael Caine plays the German paratrooper? Yeah, I wouldn't remake that one either because those were because they were fiction.
Heroes of Telemark.
That was a good movie.
I wouldn't remake that.
Yeah. That was an Anton Diffing. He's always playing a Nazi. In reality, he was actually like this gay German Jewish actor who was like.
I always remember him for two movies. One was Circus of Horrors.
Okay.
And the other one was The Man Who Could Cheat Death.
I don't remember either of those.
Oh, those were two. They were two Hammer movies. They were great.
I remember him for Where Eagles Dare. He played the colonel who was also held in commission in the SF. And I remember him for Telemark. And for the Blue Max.
Blue Max.
Yeah. That was the general simply as he sorts things out.
And you should never remake the first two Quatermass movies.
Mm.
No.
I don't think you need to remake Fahrenheit 451 either.
No, that was good. Or The Planet of the Apes.
No, don't.
Original.
Oh my God, none of them have been as good as the original.
No.
I was disappointed with both of them. And
Could remake The Black Hole.
Please give it a different ending.
And do not remake Alien or Aliens.
No. But we need to think about I'll tell you one that could be remade. Was it 20 Million Miles to Earth?
Yeah.
Not that they didn't do a good. Actually, I take that back. Maybe
no, that was pretty good. It wouldn't remake.
Yeah. They shouldn't.
They could remake The Killer Shrews.
A movie they shouldn't have made to begin with.
Yeah. Wow. The leech. What is it? The leech monsters or? Yeah, that was pretty bad. You could remake that. Super PLZs, right? Smokey and the Bandit should never be remade.
No, it should not. And they shouldn't have made any of the sequels either. Just stay
No,
with the winner.
The Good,
But
the Bad, and the Ugly should never be
no,
remade.
I was telling her the Spaghetti Western Trio, Eastwood Spaghetti Western Trio, should never be touched. They've been imitated a lot of times.
The Magnificent Seven should never be remade. No,
To be honest, I like the original War of the Worlds better than the remake, and I like the remake.
oh yeah, oh yeah. I like the original also.
Now, War of the World has been made at least 6 times, I think. Only the original 53 with George Powell and the one with in my opinion, and the one with Tom Hanks are worth watching. If you wanted to make it in accordance with the book, then I could see that being worthwhile. But the ones where they paste in Victorian, they got away from the book. As you know, that was Orwell's metaphor for the British colonization of Africa. But there were a lot of sci-fi. What was that really cheesy sci-fi movie they made, I think in the late 70s, super budget film, where the alien is posing as someone who's trying to capture these aliens that have gotten loose, and it turns out he was the captain of like a zoology ship that crashed, and a bunch of his captured creatures got away. Oh, it was like a real low rent movie. And I was thinking, conceptually, that's a good idea. But they were making it on probably a $50,000 budget. So it's just really, really bad acting. But I was like, that's one that could be remade. I don't remember the name of it.
They should never remake, although they did, but it wasn't the same. Plan 9.
No, Plan 9 is such a bad idea. It deserved a bad movie.
It just stayed.
Although they did remake it. Yeah, The Magnificent Seven was remade. I got again. I prefer the original. Although I like the second one, but the original. That's like True Grit. Actually, although I love John Wayne, the remake of True Grit was much closer to the book than the source material than John Wayne. And but he's talking about Critters, and what was the other one they said here? Tremors. Yeah, don't touch Tremors. Tremors was fine.
Tron could have used a remake.
Remake of Logan's Run, that wouldn't break my heart. Logan's Run was okay. They kind of remade Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea with Deep Quest, with Sequest. But Sequest, Roy Scheider, I just saw this earlier. Roy Scheider, I think he said that Sequest was like the low point in his career.
Yeah, did it for the money.
Yeah, and the thing is that he did a movie after Jaws called Sorcerer.
Yeah, which was a total flop.
But ironically, it's considered a great movie.
It was a remake.
I forgot that. It was a remake.
It was a remake of a French movie called Wages of Sin.
Yes. I actually did a faux box art with it, and some of the guys were talking about the name of his truck and everything, which was Sorcerer. But the thing is that apparently the movie, the problem was when it was released, it went up against some really tough competition.
It went up against Star Wars.
Star Wars, you know. And the thing is that people go from a movie standpoint, it's a great movie. About redemption and everything. You could never make, Chivago, yeah.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
I have to disagree with you on the second World War. I prefer. No, the original was. Okay, that's not an unfair statement. I know what you mean. My reason is purely nostalgic. I saw the original War of the Worlds as a kid. Okay, I'll tell you a movie that could be. Well, it kind of was, and I was going to say Fantastic Voyage, but it kind of was with Inner Space.
Yeah.
And
you know what movie could never be remade? Should never be remade is Five Easy Pieces.
I don't know if I know that one.
The one with Jack Nicholson.
Max, were you referring to Alien Trespass? It's distinctly possible. Let me look and see if that was it. Alien Trespass. I remember seeing it on television one night.
Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow.
A movie that should. Now that's a movie that could be remade.
Yeah, it could. Blue Thunder.
No. Alien Trespass. No, it wasn't. The one movie I'm talking about was made in the 70s. Have you seen Alien Trespass?
No.
It cracked me up because one critic said It's an A-list movie disguised as a B movie. What it is, it's an homage to 1950s sci-fi. You go watch it. You're going to love it. You're absolutely going to love it. What it is, it's a 1950s B movie done with A-list actors and special effects. And it actually is a good movie with a little campy nod to the 50s. But like little jokes, like when he it is right out of a 50s sci-fi. He's a professor, like out in Arizona or somewhere in the desert, at some little university. And he and his wife it's like their anniversary, and he's cooking a steak, and like holds the steak up, and it's like this freaking big because it's the 50s, right? So it's like a T-bone this big. He throws it on the grill, and the wife comes out in like the silk negligee, like, are you sure you want to eat? And he like burns the steaks. Like, I'm like, oh my God. But the actual storyline and special effects are better than they had in right, and it's got a bunch of popular actors, and I was like, before we saw it, my wife was like, you gotta watch. She says they say this is like a 50s B movie, but a lot of critics say it's actually an A movie hidden behind a B movie franchise, and it is. It is better than it had any right to be.
Event Horizon.
Tropic Thunder should never be remade. I agree.
Event Horizon.
Oh, remake the Osterman Weekend now. That's one that could be remade. That was yeah. The original Red Dawn should absolutely not have been remade. Super Troopers, yeah. But I actually had trouble coming up because I was kind of brain farting on the movies that should be remade. The Green Slime, Astro Zombies, that could be remade. Jan and a Pan, if you did it more seriously, like Spock's Brain, maybe. Okay, first off, the Iron Eagle movies, 1, should have never been made, and B, should not be remade.
How about They Live?
You could do They Live again. I'm not sure you're going to improve it much. I know there was a certain Eddie's aesthetic.
Well, you just show all the current politicians who are the aliens.
I'll tell you, they did The Running Man again. It was actually not bad. We watched it. I suppose they could do... Did they redo Total Recall?
Yes.
Fly the Snake. Beastmaster needs a remake. I hate remakes in general. I know what you mean. What you want to do is, when I talk about doing a remake, I'm talking about a movie that had a good premise but was poorly executed, probably due to budgetary reasons. And you think about a lot of the 50s B sci-fi, a lot of them actually had some pretty cool ideas. They just didn't,
Amazing Colossal Man.
Yeah, Amazing Colossal Man. I don't think you know what? I don't think we need to remake Forbin Project Colossus because I think we're going to live it.
That was a movie that was under-promoted and underviewed at its time that has become a great cult classic.
Well, it's also turned out to be surprisingly prescient.
Pretty true,
yeah.
Yes.
Well, since you brought that up, allow me to take a nosedive into that for a second. With AI, they're talking about how the big importance, the AI has made a lot of mistakes. It's gotten a lot of innocent people arrested because it made mistakes or hallucinated. And the police, there's several lawsuits against various police agencies that leaned on it and grabbed the wrong person. But AI is being used in the military, although it's strictly advisory at this point. It's also being used in medicine because it can give, no doctor can remember 10,000 different diagnoses. You plug it into AI and it gives them something to run with. AI will continue to make mistakes, but what I'm worried about with AI is as it gets smarter and more capable, it starts granting itself access. And it isn't that long before you start looking at a Terminator-esque situation. But I'm not talking about them turning the guns on. It's only a fool would give the AI control of the weapons. But what happens when it starts grabbing people's bank accounts? The government says, hey, we need to fix the deficit problem. So AI goes and steals everybody's retirement accounts or something like that. It doesn't know any better, and I worry about And there have already been innocent people thrown in jail based on AI making mistakes. So I got a bad feel. And Elon, the late, oh God, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name, in the wheelchair.
Raymond Burr?
No. The scientist that just died.
Hawking.
Hawking. And a bunch of others, even Gates, they've all said that, this is AI could be a big threat. It's the big threat.
It is.
And here I am using it to make pictures. I just had somebody on the last, I think it was the last group build I posted. He's like, I hate the AI music. I'm like, guys, I'm getting burned left and right for copyright infringement. The AI at YouTube has gotten so aggressive that it's not even honoring the 7-second rule. You're supposed to be able to use 7 seconds of anything without worrying about copyright, general use. But it's popping people all kind. It's even popping people for their own music because it's too close to someone else's music. So I have Suno make up these songs and everything, and I use them, and people are complaining about it. And I'm like, guys, please, if you turn the volume down and put your own soundtrack to it. I'm limited in what I can do if you don't want the video taken down. And YouTube's only got a 3 strikes and you're out policy, and I've got one because it's 3 in 90 days. But you can lose the channel if you're not careful. So yeah, I use AI generated music because that's what won't get me in any trouble. Hopefully, may you live in interesting times. But you got to do you. If you don't like it, you don't like it. This channel's for people that want to come here and have some fun, not take life too seriously, get away from the crap that bugs you during the day. It's a chance to vent and gripe and show your models and talk about cool techniques. And Police Academy should never be made. The sequel should not have been remade either. But the first Police Academy was a genuinely good movie. The second one was okay. Gates is Lex Luthor, but dumber. Actually, I think of Bezos as Lex Luthor. He's got the look.
Yeah. Yeah, Bezos is, he's Dr. Evil.
There you go. That's more like it. But anyway, celebrating Robert Conrad will come after you in Duracell for quads rather. It's funny. There were radio shows they should never be remade. When they did Matt Dillon, everybody thought William Conrad was going to play Matt Dillon. And like, why do you cast this guy named James Arness? Most people had no idea what William Conrad looked like. They didn't know that he was short and stocky. They just knew he had that deep radio voice. And then he eventually got his own TV show in Canon. He usually played villains up to that point.
He did.
And
he had the voice.
Yeah. And what was it? Was it the Killers? That he was one of the hitmen and with Burt Lancaster.
Yeah, he was.
Fauci is
a lot of stuff on radio.
Oh, well, that's because he had the voice for it. Steve, should Kentucky Fried Movie be remade? No. Do not remake Kentucky Fried Movie. Hey, here's some trivia before we're talking about Kentucky Fried. The Colonel of Kentucky Fried Chicken. He did eventually get the National Guard rank of Colonel in the State Guard, not the National Guard, the State Guard, by the governor. Did you know he killed a guy in a shootout?
Yes.
And
do you know who his right-hand guy was?
Huh.
Dave Thomas, who founded Wendy's.
Wendy's, okay. Is there a documentary about plastic model kit building? Yeah, there's several of them. I did one on a long time ago about entry level, building your first model and everything, and of course did the history of models. But there's quite a few of them out there. In fact, if you Google it, you'll probably get a lot of hits.
Zuckerberg is the alien and they live.
Oh, I'm pretty sure if you rip Zuckerberg, grab his hair and pull, there's going to be a lizard person underneath him and Patton Oswalt. Patton Oswalt actually played a character who was a lizard person. That was in the Weird Al tinfoil, the song about the tinfoil hats, aluminum.
Another movie that should never be made is Wayne's World.
No Peter Cushing movie should ever be remade.
No.
Okay. My guy,
Christopher Lee.
One of my favorite lines in the history of the movie industry is, I think it was a Terror Express, where Peter Cushing tells them you have to
We're
suspect.
British.
Yeah, what about you? Not us. By God, man, we're British. I love that. That may be the most British thing ever said. Aluminum foil. That's it. Thank you, Jan Klodek. Cold Turkey with Dick Van Dyke. Gotta be smoking. I remember that. And Winchester 73, Jimmy Stewart. Yeah, absolutely not to be remade. But we're trying to find movies that should be remade. That's the problem. Pretty much any 50s B science fiction movie could be remade and with modern effects and made well.
The Giant Claw.
Now, you see, that actually is a movie that begs to be remade properly, and it could be.
Do you know
Giant Manus, or Deadly Manus.
Yeah, Deadly. Do you know when they made the Giant Claw, they didn't tell the actors or show them what the claw actually looked like?
They had a walked off set, and I wouldn't have blamed them.
And when they finally put the movie together and cut in the scenes to the Giant Claw, they were horrified.
I'll bet they were. I can't. I mean, like, what were you thinking? The Atomic Bus. I remember that. Never remake Airplane. You don't have to remake Airplane these days. You just have to go to the airport.
Go to the airport. Yeah. Preacher with the Atom Brain. Remember that movie?
See, there's one that could be remade.
Yeah.
You know what? There are also a lot of Twilight Zone episodes that could be. Oh, I know an Outer Limits episode that could be turned into a movie. Devil with the Glass Hand.
Yes, absolutely. It's my favorite Outer Limits episode.
I showed it to my wife. She absolutely hated it. She thought it was ridiculous. I was like, it's because they didn't have the resources necessary to do it properly. And they worked with what they had. In fact, a lot of the Outer Limits episodes. My favorite Twilight Zone episode, bar none, and I love them all. There's none of them I don't like. But my favorite Twilight Zone episode is A Game of Pool with Jack Klugman and Jonathan Winters. Only two people in it. Calling Fats Brown. And,
I like Night of the Meat with Art Carney.
I should know that one. Is that Twilight Zone?
Yeah, that's the one where he plays the Santa, and he's a drunk, and he lives in a really bad part of town.
Only faint recollection. Doesn't stand
and he
out.
wants to be Santa Claus, and he finds a sleigh behind the department store.
Okay.
And there's a sack with whatever anybody wants. He pulls out of it, and that's what they want.
Triffids. There you go. Triffids.
Triffids.
That's a movie to be remade.
They remade that as in England as like a TV show.
It needs to be made as a feature length movie with a big budget. And that ironically, I watched it again not that long ago. I saw it at the theater. I know a lot of people thought it was meh, but I actually liked it. But I don't know why. I just did. To me, the most terrifying part, obviously, was the blind airline crew.
Yeah. My son saw that movie when he was a kid. And we went out to eat at a restaurant one night, and they seated us in this area, and there were all these plants behind the movie. He says, no, we can't sit here. We
can't sit in the Triffids one.
No.
Well, Airplane was a remake of Zero Hour, but it was a parody of 0 Hour. No, don't remake Dirty Harry. I mean,
Never.
Dirty Harry's been remade in 100 forms. Every road cop is basically a ripoff of Dirty Harry. And Steve, I am going to have you take command for just a second. I'm going to make you big and me small while I take a quick break for station identification, which means I am dying to pee. As you guys may know, I drink a lot of water, so part of my diet. So
the Tingler, huh? The Tingler could stand to be remade.
Oops, I'm sorry, I did that backwards. Okay,
the House on Haunted Hill was remade. I didn't like the remake. I thought the original one was way better than the remake.
What about A Cabin in the Woods?
Yeah. Well, the Evil Dead. Why remake that? Along with 9 million Friday the 13th episodes that were kind of pretty bad as they went forward. What's your guys' favorite Twilight Zone episode? Now, Evil Dead would never change Evil Dead. If they remade all of these movies, all the writers in Hollywood would be out of business. I don't know about remake Night of the Living Dead as a musical. Monster That Challenged the World could be made. A Good Life is a great Twilight Zone episode. The one where the watch stopped trapping the guy in time. Passing of the Guard. The one with the alien. Oh, the alien ants. That was the Outer Limits. That was the Xanthi Misfits.
The Xanthi. Annoying little jerks.
Time enough at last. To serve mankind. That's one of the
classic.
That's a classic. That is just amazing.
The Simpsons even parodied that one.
The one where Agnes Moorehead chopped up the C-57.
Oh yeah, that was. Oh my God, that was a great one. They reused the C-57D.
There was another one where you didn't know what was going on till the end.
Yep, that was one of the great reveals. And
Garfield's right. If they remade some of them, Hollywood would make money.
Well, the one where Burgess Meredith breaks his glasses. Yeah, that was it. Sven Hassel's Wheels of Terror. That was a pretty good movie, but it could be remade. I still want my money back from watching The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe. Starship Troopers, the movie Starship Troopers was not the book.
No,
it was something else.
It was an entertaining movie, though.
No, it was a good movie. I enjoyed it. But I never read the book. All I know is 42 is the answer.
You also cannot remake any of the Monty Python movies.
No, that took that. That's like trying to redo Mayberry. Only Don Knotts could be Barney Fife. Only Bob Denver could be Gilligan. There's some characters you just can't replace. Putting down the warden's back. Man, people really did not like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe. Time Bandits could probably be done better, but there are so many. Oh, you know what could be done? You could do but you can't do it like the old the UFO the TV show could be done as a movie. That's one that could be done as a movie. I actually had a treatment for that.
They made it into a movie. Like they made like 1 or 2 episodes. They put it together.
Yeah, but that wasn't a real. No, I mean, today you could do it. You could do a completely clean sheet. That's not a bad premise.
No.
Space 1999. Pardon the pun, was a little far out there.
Yeah, no.
But I'll give credit to the cast though. They took their part seriously. I mean, they played it straight. But the characters were all just too dry,
Yeah, no.
I mean, in Star Trek, the characters had character.
And then it got stupid.
The second season went off the rails.
Then it got bug-eyed monsters.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was, third season Lost in Space, or second season Lost in. It was the third season when they started getting the carrot people and everything else, and which is sad because Lost in Space had one of the best aesthetics: the shape of the ship, the chariot, the little space pod, the jetpack. That stuff was all super cool. They had the physical manifestation of the stuff they needed.
I mean, the first season was great. After that, it went right off the rails.
Well, Star Trek's third season was pretty weak, but nothing like Lost in Space. Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea did the same thing. They got into space aliens and stuff, and I was kind of like, and so did Sequest DSV. First season was pretty straight, and the second season, which is just basically a new version of Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. But in my humble opinion, and this, of course, has been hit on many times, the television show that really got jacked up, that was a good show, it holds up today, is Firefly. the space western. And
Well, look at Battlestar Galactica.
well, the remake, they were both. The original
They were both-
Battlestar Galactica was good in the first
Right.
season. Second season, they run out of ideas. They come up with weird stuff.
Well, the biggest reason the first one got canceled was it was $1 million a week.
Yeah, it was too
the
expensive to
budget.
produce.
It was just, because it was so
A lot of
heavily
special
effects
effects,
driven.
yeah, and
Now,
big sets. and
the
everything.
one that they did as the remake was excellent. I
Yeah,
mean,
it
that-
was. It
that
was. But the follow-ons like Caprica left a lot to be desired.
I liked Caprica. That had a lot of legs to be really good, but they just dropped it.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't getting ratings, and I think it was people tune into sci-fi to see sci-fi, not to see melodrama,
Yeah.
or police procedurals. And I get it, which it's one of those things that wasn't a bad show. It just wasn't what the built-in audience wanted. It could have been a '30s gangster flick, but
Yeah.
Everybody had a crush on Xenia Merton. Gentle Ben, I remember that. I was shot down here in Florida. How about doing Gentle Ben or Gentle Ben ain't so gentle? Yeah, they called that Cujo or Grizzly.
All of the Irwin Allen shows started strong and made a weird twist around the third season.
Yeah, a lot of shows do. They start
Running out of ideas.
Yeah, and that or the studio puts pressure on them because, hey, that's what they told them with several shows is that, look, you're going for the wrong demographic. We need 18-year-olds or 14-year-olds who buy toys and stuff, not, and it's like, that of course, I get it. They're running a business and the studio heads are worried about keeping the marketing people or the advertisers happy, but that's killed a lot of shows. From an artistic or an interesting standpoint, they were great. They didn't appeal. I don't know if any of you guys, I've talked about this before, have heard of something called the Rural Purge.
Mm-hmm.
The Rural Purge was when they killed off, and I want to say was it NBC? CBS. Killed off a lot of top-rated television shows. They killed off Gomer Pyle, Beverly Hillbillies, Green Acres, Petticoat Junction, Hee Haw. They killed off Lassie. They killed off all these television shows that had a rural bent to them. Because what they realized was, you even got the Lawrence Welk show, the reason was that the shows were all top rated, but their sponsors were people like the Lawrence Welk show's big sponsor was Geritol.
Right.
I thought it was like a seasoning for meat or something. I didn't know what it was. I didn't realize it was because what happened, they said, is your demographic is 40 to 60. Man, what's wrong with that? They have all their stuff.
Right. But what they did was they replaced them with shows like
Mary
One
Tyler
Day at
Moore,
a Time, which was in Indianapolis, WKRP in Cincinnati,
Cincinnati,
Good Times, which was in
New
Chicago.
York. No, New York.
Archie-
Good Times was in New York. It was the ghettos in
Archie
New York.
Bunker.
Archie Bunker was in New York also. All in the
Yeah.
Family. All in the Family was actually the kickoff of those shows. That was the first, the Norman Lear. But what they did was they went with all these urban-oriented shows.
Mary Tyler Moore show.
Mary Tyler Moore was a perfect example of the demographic they were going for. Younger audiences who still had to buy washers and dryers and houses and cars and all the stuff they needed to make money selling. Now, my initial reaction was, what? And Tarkington, the guy, that was where he made his hay. He wound up becoming the head of the network. And my first reaction was, these guys are morons. They're killing top selling. But it actually worked. Their revenues doubled or tripled in the advertising, which is what keeps those shows alive. Because now, instead of Geritol, they were doing Ford and Mercury and Whirlpool.
They hit the right demographic.
Yeah, they hit the right demographic. They knew I didn't realize they'd done a lot of research. Some of the shows migrated. Hee Haw went on to another network, and it actually survived. What's his name? That played Mr. Patrick Buchanan. Was it Buchanan? The guy who played Mr. Haney? Patrick Butman. Pat Buttram. He was quoted on an interview going, "They killed everything that had a tree. They even got Lassie." They killed Gentle Ben and Flipper and Gomer Pyle.
So John Ashley says Rollerball is screaming for a timely remake. They
That would
should have
be.
never remade the first one.
Did they remake the first one?
They did, and it was pretty bad.
Huh. Because the first one was a.
First one
I
was
remember that
really
one.
good.
That got a lot of attention. James Caan, he was in his element.
People, when they made that movie and they brought people in as extras that were just random people, they liked it so much they wanted that to be a sport.
Yeah, motorcycles on roller skate. Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Leaving bodies and bleeding. I mean, it's the roller bar. It's the roller derby crowd.
yeah.
Now I'll tell you a television show that you couldn't do it today because I don't even know if it exists anymore. Do you remember Raquel Welch and the Kansas City Bombers?
Yes.
I remember when when the roller skating was a competition sport. I never quite understood what the heck they were getting scored on. It just like people, like a hockey game on wheels, but I mean, at least hockey had goals. I never understood what roller derby was all about. And a lot of guys were like, well, man, you got these hot chicks on roller skates beating each other up.
And they're beating the snot out of each
Yeah.
other.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, Jim Croce did that song, was a roller derby queen or whatever, And now there was a true loss to American culture, was Jim Croce.
Or as my friend Mike used to refer to him as, Jim died in a plane crash.
Mm-hmm. Ewan McGregor make a good Night Stalker. Yeah, their revamp of the Night Stalker didn't work. It had the wrong vibe to it, but the Night Stalker in the right conditions could be remade. They did have him driving a Mustang though. Yeah, Eric, you're not wrong. But yeah, Rollerball doesn't need to be remade. The Running Man. Oh, well, they did remake Judge Dredd, and I got to admit, I like the new one with what's his name, Dr. McCoy, Carl Urban. That was more like the comic books.
First one wasn't that good.
Well, the first one had that bright '80s aesthetic to it, the bright colors and the pastels and everything.
Yeah, but it was, it was like Stallone stiff through it.
Well, yeah, because it wasn't done like the actual comic book.
Yeah.
Now, I'll tell you, a comic book I think they brought to life fairly well is The Boys.
Yes. I'm waiting for the 5th season.
And, anyway, well, there are some characters they don't make models of. They could. Some of the characters, Homelander and Butcher and all the others. But, well, guys, it's 9 o'clock. We've gotten there already. Jeez. I hope you had a little bit of fun tonight. Steve, any parting shots before we go?
Guys, thanks as always for tuning in. We hope that we made your night a little more fun than usual, and maybe we'll see some of you over at Blobfest.
And Ken, good night wherever you are, and happy birthday to Dean. Folks, thanks for coming out and spending some time with us. Hope you had a good time. We'll talk to you later, as always. Model on.
Come on.
Saturday night, I'm in my chair, tiny wing and my tweezers, glue on my hair. Instruction sheet reads like ancient runes. Step 4 was easy, I skipped 1 through 2. Decals folding like origami. Fingerprint right on the cockpit canopy. Masking tape peeled, half the paint, prototype weathering. That's what I'll say. I build planes, cars, tanks, and tiny people. Got a runway on my bookshelf steeple. Fuselage stuck to the cat's new tail. But I swear this time this kit won't fail. I'm covered in paint, but my wallet's fine. Cheaper than dating and cheaper than wine. So I'll stay home, sniffing glue all night. These little plastic disasters are my big delight. Airbrush gods, they laugh at me. Orange peel finish on a new RV. Gloss coat puddles, matte coat shines. Silvering decals like frosted lines. One wheel short, the carpet ate it. Spruce shot somewhere, I'll just create it. Landing gear strong on the port side. Only so my jet sink. Storage crisis, shelf two's bowed, closet's just a secret hangar row, bedside table, that's the car show stand, bathroom counter is a desert sand. Guests come over, yeah, once a year, ask how many little dudes you got in here. I smile wide, say just a few, they trip over Normandy in the hallway too. That one tank's missing half a track. This pilot's arm is on backward jack. But step away, squint your eyes. Boom, instant masterpiece surprise. I build jets, jeeps, dragons, and detectives. Every free surface has got objectives. Display case packed like a subway train. One more model, I'll find a way. Might skip the steakhouse, skip the date, skip that cocktail, skip that wait. Crunch the numbers, do the math. This hobby still beats an awkward dinner and a split check aftermath. My buddy said, go out, meet someone new, dress real sharp, buy him dinner too. I priced one night of romance and charm, that's 3 big bombers and a farm. He came home broke with a mild regret. I dry fit a battleship, came out ahead. He bought cologne, I bought sprue cutters. We're both inhaling fumes, just different flavors. So raise your knife to the crooked seams, those sanding sticks and those half-dry beams. Raise your brush to the paint that runs. We're saving cash while we ruin our foes. I build trains, bikes, castles, and critters. All my exes think I'm bitter, but I'm just broke in a smarter way. Buying tiny wheels instead of Chardonnay. I'm spotted with glue, but my heart's in sight. Cheaper than dating and cheaper at night than trying to charm some stranger's heart. I'll romance this 148 kit and call it art. I got a fleet on the fridge, an air wing on the chair, a rally car rally on the stairway there. House full of plastic, soul full of glee. I'll take a crooked canopy over therapy. So if you ask why I stay indoors with paint on my face and glue on the floor, I'll just smile, point to the shelf in shame, say I could have blown it all on love. Instead I built a plane. I light a candle to the sprue tree, lay out tweezers like a shrine, whisper, please be kind tonight, then drop apart at the worst time. It vanishes into the carpet, dimension shift beneath my knees. Somewhere tiny thunders rumbling in a cloud of plastic shavings and disbelief. Oh, the gods of modeling live up in the rafters laughing. Every time my finger sticks, they demand another offering. Almighty ones, have mercy please. I chant in gluey misery. They sip my tears like gasoline. The cruel just to watch me crash. Oh, the gods of modeling live up in the rafters laughing. Every time my blade snaps quick, they demand another offering. Almighty ones, have mercy, please. I chant in gluey misery. They stir my paints with static grin. The cruel, cruel gods of modeling. I tried to quit one Sunday, pack the stash into a box, a voice boomed to check the clearance bin. I walked out holding 3 new kits and a paradox. So now I bargain late at night, my sweet but spare this wing. They answer back with 1 cat hair, dead center of the canopy, shimmering. Oh, the gods of modeling perched on piles of broken sprues, cackling every time I almost win. They demand another offering. Almighty ones, I get the joke. I say through paint and sanding smoke, if pain's your favorite offering, then I must be your chosen king. So I bow to the bench, resigned, glue on my hands like a wedding ring. If suffering's their sacred hymn, I'll sing through the gods of modeling. Box on the table, tiny trees, tiny cars, little bag of soldiers, and a painted paper sky. Instructions like a treasure map folded on my knee. Sunday in the kitchen, just these pieces and me. I've got glue on my fingers, time on my side. Whole little worlds in the space of a tide. If the big world's heavy, I just stay where I am, lost in my living room, building plastic dreams in my hand. Clouds in cotton batting, snow made out of sand, a river from a ribbon winding through the land. Dad walks in and lingers, says I had one like that. Leaves a fingerprint on a farmhouse roof and smiles as he pats my back. I've got glue on my fingers, time on my side. Whole little worlds in the space of a tide. If the big world's heavy, I just stay where I am, lost in my living room, building plastic dreams in my hands. Street lamps on a cardboard hill, tiny tracks that never end. page or two, like I'm rewriting what has been. Outside, it's all too fast, too loud. Here I know the master plan. I can stop the storm with a bottle cap, bring the sun with a desk lamp stand. Oh yeah! I've got glue on my fingers, time on my side. Whole little worlds in the space of a tide. If the big world's heavy, I just stay where I am. Down on the carpet floor, building plastic dreams in my hand. Box on the shelf, faded paint, $5. Little warbird, rusted truck, instructions yellow, tiny parts in a bag. One wrong breath, all the sprues start to sag. Decals and dust on my workbench, water dish, shaky hands, cheap brush, see the melt in the mush of the wrinkle and rush. Every stripe, every star, every crush. Decals and dust on my workbench, little world in a storm of regret. They flake, they crack, they curl, and they set, and I keep building anyway. You bet. Slide the logo from the back end so slow. Watch it buckle like an old man's coat. Wingtip number turns to paper skin. Folded corners won't lay flat again. Decals and dust on my workbench, water dish, shaky hands, cheap brush, see the melt in the mush of their wrinkle and rush. Every stripe, every star, every crush. Decals and dust on my workbench, little world in a storm of regret. They flake, they crack, they curl, and they set, and I keep building anyway. You bet. Snap that axle, there it goes. Tiny tailgate into, oh no, brittle plastic. Breaks like pride, still I sit here. Son of ink, decals and dust on my workbench, water dish, shaky hands, cheap brush, see the melt in the mush of the wrinkle and rush. Every stripe, every star, every crepe. Decals and dust on my workbench, glue on my vest, paint on my vest. These crooked little ghosts, they're the ones I love best. So I'll keep building anyway. It feels in the list. Hit the open bottle of paint again. Colors flying into the wind. Landed on the model I just did. Why can't I remember the lid? Glue had gotten on my thumb, smeared it on the canopy, ain't that dumb? I'm a klutz, that's for sure, but somehow I endure. Build models, build models. I'm a klutz, that's for sure, but somehow I endure. Build models, build models. I'm a klutz, that's for sure, but somehow I endure. Building models. I'm a klutz, that's for sure, but somehow I endure. Building models. Building models. I'm a klutz, that's for sure, but somehow I endure. Building models. Building models. Building models. Building Saturday night, I'm in my chair, tiny wing and my tweezers, glue on my hair. Instruction sheet reads like ancient runes. Step 4 was easy, I skipped 1 through 2. Decals folding like origami. Fingerprint right on the cockpit canopy. Masking tape peeled, half the paint, prototype weathering. That's what I'll say. I build planes, cars, tanks, and tiny people. Got a runway on my bookshelf steeple. Fuselage stuck to the cat's new